further ado, I'd like to introduce Derek Neighbors.
And if I'm not loud enough, they can mic me, but I think it sounds like the mic's having problems, and I generally don't have a problem being too terribly quiet. As those that know me know that I'm pretty loud. So if you can't hear me, just ask me to speak up. I can actually get quite a bit louder than I currently am. So today I want to talk a little bit about something that we don't talk about enough, in my opinion, when it comes to software development. And that is culture and how we interact with people. So one of my complaints is I've been doing this for a really long time. I've been a part of the Agile community for a really long time. And one of the key values, right, is people, individuals, interactions over process. But all the damn conference is talk about tools and processes and, never about the people and the interactions. And so what I want to do today, hopefully, is get you to start to think slightly different about the prison that you live in. Okay? Because as a Q&A person or as a developer that's doing testing, you probably live in a fair amount of prisons. Whether those be self-imposed or organizationally imposed, you're in them. Right? Anytime you say, well, what am I supposed to do? You're in a prison. Okay? And I think that it's important to be able to understand that, because it's the only way that you can get yourself out. Who here has seen the movie Instinct? It's like Cuba Gooding Jr. and I can't remember the Hannibal Lecter. I can't remember his real name. Right? This is a movie about a guy who goes and he lives with gorillas. Right? Living with the gorillas. Poachers come in, shoot one of the gorillas. He's become like family to these gorillas, so he picks up a rifle and shoots back several of the poachers. He gets deported back to America and put in a mental institution because people think he's crazy because he acts like a gorilla. At some point, Cuba Gooding Jr., who's a psychologist, tries to get to the bottom, says, look, you're a brilliant scientist, it's published all this work, I know you're not crazy. Come on, let's get to the bottom of this. What really happened? Right? And so what he starts to talk to him about, starts talking about freedom. Right? At one point in the movie, he basically attacks Cuba Gooding Jr. at pencil point, nice prison shiv, right in the neck. And he asks him, what's changed? What did you lose? And he says, freedom. He says, no, you never had freedom. What do you lose? It comes down to perception. It's loss of perception. And I think that every day we're in a position where we hold true to perceptions that keep us from being our best. And when we can learn how to ditch those perceptions, we can actually find the freedom that we wish we had. Right? So a lot of times we like to lay blame on everybody else in an organization, every process, everything, when in reality we have a lot of ability to free ourselves. Right? But as part of that, it's not only understanding their perception, it's understanding how others perceive us, and it's understanding how we can start to manipulate the ecosystem that we're in to get the results that we really want. So at this point, you're probably going, this guy's absolutely positively crazy. I came for a testing conference and we're talking about psychology. It's okay. I promise. We'll get there eventually. All right? So who I am is I'm Derek Neighbors. Local to Phoenix. I love Arizona. When it comes to technology, when it comes to startups, I'm probably about as committed as it gets here. That said, I travel all over working with clients and with entrepreneurial communities, investing pretty much around the world. I've seen companies from little guys to big guys, everything in between. I've worked as a software developer, I've worked as Q&A person, I've worked as a dev manager, I've worked as a CTO, pretty much all parts of it. And I understand how those pieces interact and work with each other and how to optimize for success. And what holds companies back, whether they be small companies or whether they be big companies. And it's usually not their technology, it's usually not their testing, it's usually their ability to not get out of their way. Two of my personal mentors, one is Mike Cohn, who is pretty seminal in the Agile space. And the other one is Jim McCarthy, who you've probably never heard of, but you should have. He was the product manager at Microsoft that brought forward all of the original visual tools, tooling, and basically killed Borland by bringing Anders over and releasing Visual J++ and the whole .NET stack. He is absolutely fabulous. He's got a book called The Core Protocols. I strongly encourage that you read it, drink it, and figure it out, because he has absolutely learned how to basically hack your brain to allow you to be optimal to work with other human beings. And so a lot of our work is kind of a mixture of those processes along with kind of the rehacking of thinking of your brain as an operating system, one in which you can change how it interacts with other operating systems. So, I want to know a little bit about the current state of affairs. I do not like to get up and talk in front of people. I like to interact with people, so I want to make this as interactive as possible. So, as we move through the next hour, 45 minutes, I'm going to have you group with people. I'm going to ask that you please group with people that you did not come to the conference with or you do not know, and you'll probably be in a group of no more than 5. So when we get to that and I say break up into groups, those are the rules that I want you to adhere to. Do not be in a group with somebody you know, and do not be in a group bigger than 5. So state of affairs. What is this audience composed of? Who here is in a company of less than 10 people? 25 people? 50 people? 100 people? 500 people? More than 500 people. Okay, so we've got a lot of big companies, some smaller companies, some in between, so we've got a pretty good range. Who here is a developer by software title? Who here is a Q&A or quality assurance by title? Okay. Who here is a dev manager, CTO, management of some kind by title? Who here has broken enough perceptions that they don't even have a title? All right, we got 2 people in this room that are close to Agile. Okay, the rest of you, we got a lot of perceptions. You're probably holding yourselves in a lot of prison. So I want to hear from you. What's the state of affairs? Work going good? Everything's shipping on time? Quality great? Quality suck? Happy with managers? Not happy with managers? I want to hear from you. So let me hear.
Quality is poor.
Quality is poor. I appreciate the vulnerability.
Well, you're being polite too.
Okay.
I could be a little bit more honest.
How about other people? What is state of affairs? Good management, bad management, good products, bad products,
Lack
good
of
quality,
requirements.
bad quality,
Lack of requirements.
lack of requirements. Some requirements missing in a lot of projects. Okay, what else? That's the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Like what's going wrong, what's going well. I want to know the heartbeat of this room. Process sucks. All right, good. Agile's not about process, so we're going to be able to get your prison right out.
Misunderstanding of user needs.
Don't understand the user needs. Misunderstanding. What else?
Lack of time to test.
Lack of time to test. No important, right? Come on, man. The customer doesn't care if we test this. They want it now. You know how much money we're losing while you're sitting there testing? The goal.
Ignoring what process does exist.
Ignoring processes that do exist. Right? What else? What else are we seeing out there?
Process is a bad word.
Process is a bad word. What else? I assume if you come to a conference, you've got more opinions than this.
Too much documentation.
Too much documentation. Okay.
The wrong kind of document.
Wrong kind of documentation. What's frustrating you at work? Maybe I'm asking the question wrong. Like, what in your daily job is pissing you off?
Key changes in the middle of a regression test.
What's it? Key changes by the developers during the regression test?
Yes.
Okay.
Without notification.
Oh, bad communication. Those of you that raise your hand that are more than 500 people, I bet all of you have perfect communication in your organization, right?
When you talk to yourself.
When you talk to yourself. I quit doing that because I lose the argument every time. What else? What else is frustrating in your
Us
organization?
versus them mentality.
Oh, us versus them. You know, you Q&A people, if you were just as smart as us developer people, we wouldn't have these problems.
Stop reporting bugs, just shut up and fix them.
Oh, yeah. Will you stop reporting our defects? I've never seen that before.
Don't call it a bug.
Don't call it a bug. Feature, not a bug, right? That's what happened. It's almost like they don't know what they're doing. Those product people, like, you know, they're just kind of. Oh, this guy's crying loud. Let's go over here. All right, who works for a product manager that currently does feature development by noise level? Like, have you ever heard like the applause meter? Right? I love the product developers who go the opposite way. It's like if a customer is screaming, it's like, oh, we need this feature, this feature. Oh, wait, it's getting louder over here. We need this feature, right? You ever work for one of them? Kind of fun.
I thought that was called market research.
Yeah, market research. Yeah. All right, what else are we seeing out there? What about the good things? What good stuff's happening in your organizations?
Better quality.
Better quality, so you're seeing some improvement?
Good people.
Good people? Like people you're working with? Okay. What else?
Processes are gradually getting better.
What, processors gradually getting better? Okay.
I see cases where the process is improving. You know, we solved the problem where we didn't really have the right kind of product owner mentality.
Right.
That's improved, but you know, one of the teams I work with, we've still got a challenge of technical debt and lack of high-level technical skills that results in a velocity much lower than we'd like to see for getting new features out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge deal. Every company I've ever consulted with that's more than probably 200 people has this problem. They've got a legacy product that nobody gave a crap about quality at all, probably for a decade or more. Now they care about quality, but they don't want to slow down. And the product shifting, that it's not going to be a client-server app anymore, it's going to be a web app, or it's not going to be a web app, it's going to be a mobile app. Developers are fighting not only the technical debt, not only the timeline pressures, but they have to learn a brand new technology on top of it, and they're ill-equipped to do so and don't have the time. I mean,
They're
man,
just
talk
supposed
about-
to do it in your spare time, because they'll add it to the,
You know,
to
too many
the
people
spread,
sleep.
but won't take anything else out.
What else are we seeing? What's holding us back? What's preventing us from moving forward?
Captain?
What's that?
Captain?
Capital? What else?
Time.
Time?
Buy-in from upper management,
Buying from upper management? Buying of what?
processes.
Of process? So process is holding us back? Or
They go
not,
out the
not,
window.
not? Okay. So, you know, I see a lot of organizations. I'll share some of what I've seen. Maybe you guys can comment on some of it. I think you've probably hit on a fair amount of it already. So, I see waterfall agile. I see it all over the place. Hey man, we're going to do this new thing. It's going to look like the old thing, only we're going to do it smaller. Right? Anybody in here have that problem? Right?
Our
You go and you read the manifesto, you read the principles, you read the books, and you come to work and your dev manager is talking to the people that are walking through. Oh yeah, about 2 years ago we adopted Agile. Ever since then, everything's great, quality's way up, everything's good. And you're sitting there going like, we're pretty much doing exactly what we did before. We get out once a week instead of every day.
our director actually has a name for it. They coined it Scragile-fall.
Scrummerfall, Scrummerfall, right? It's one of the ones I've seen, right? But the point is that we're still doing all of the old behaviors. And when I say all of the old behaviors, I'm not talking just about the team. Okay? It's not just a matter of we used to have, you know, architects and, you know, we had our product manager and we had an architect, and then when it kind of flowed through from architecture, then it flowed through to the developers. Developers would give it to Q&A. Q&A would give it to, you know, next people down along to DevOps or whatever you want to call it. They deploy it, and then we rinse and repeat the cycle through. Not only that, but all the way up the food chain. Right? We're still releasing the product once a year, twice a year, once a month. We're still not talking to our customers. Right? We're still just responding to whoever screams loudest. Still doing all the old wrong things. Right? What I like to call, I don't like to pick on waterfall too much because it's just a process. I mean, the problem with waterfall is it says that you can predict the future. It says I want to upfront load all of my choices before I do anything. But the problem is if it takes you any amount of time to actually do the things, that means that all of your choices were made and then you have to hope and pray nothing changes until you ship it. Right? Which to me, like the only sane way I can justify that is great. So you can predict the future long enough in advance that you can take the time to get everything right beforehand. Right? In this world, this day and age, nothing moves that slow anymore, especially in software. Maybe if we're building skyscrapers, maybe if we're building, the software world, man. It's impossible. It's hard enough to keep up. So we see waterfall ads, taking existing crap, shoving it into a smaller box, and hoping it gets better. It's huge, huge problem. Right? I heard it when it's a time. It makes the time problem even worse. Before, at least maybe somebody leave you alone long enough to get something done. Now it's new iteration, and everybody's slapped because now that we've bought this Agile thing, right? We expect you to go faster, which is a lie. You talk to the original manifesto authors, they never once talked about going faster. That was not their mantra. Their mantra was to actually increase the quality of the work that they were doing, deliver valuable work, and deliver it in incremental chunks. Now they believed if you did that right, you would go faster. But we don't understand the principle. Sometimes you have to slow down and speed up. Right? And that's, I see this in a lot of companies with waterfall. Other thing, we still have testers, QA. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with having a QA department or a tester department? What's wrong with that? Or even a job title? Why is that a problem? Because it's a major problem.
Because you're assigning certain tasks to certain roles and not everyone can do everything.
Yeah!
And if someone goes away or dies, you might have a hole in your product.
Yeah, I've got teenage kids, right? And I equate this to if my wife picks up their dirty laundry every single time she walks in the room and handles it for them, and then I come along and yell at them when there's dirty laundry, what do you think they tell me?
Mom didn't pick it up.
Yeah, it's Mom's fault. Mom, pick it up. Why are you doing it on my back? Man, that's stinking thinking. Right? But that's what happens when we say Q&A or quality is one person or one department's job. You know what you do when you do that? You tell the developers, you don't have to worry about quality, just go fast. Build that technical debt, baby. No problem.
Run it to the ceiling.
Yeah. Right? Because they don't care. If they never have to clean up the mess, do you think they're going to stop making the mess? I don't know about you, I'm a slob, man. Somebody clean up my mess, I've never cleaned it up. First time I have to clean it up, I'm going to be a little mindful about not making it. Okay, so when we have this mentality, that quality is only a single person or a single group's job, we start to create a culture that says it's okay to not care about the work we do. That is somebody else's problem to deal with. Okay? This goes back to someone else's problem. Right? This goes back to, I think you said, us versus them. This is where this comes from. Well, that's not our problem, it's their fault. Right? And then when you give it back to the developers, what do they say? It's not our fault. They're testing something that doesn't even matter. They're doing it wrong. Their environment's set up. They're dumb Q&A people. Right? I heard it. I've been called the dumb Q&A person before. Right? It's become someone else's problem. Okay? That's not the kind of culture you want. That's where you start to build the prison. Then you start to say, well, I can't do anything. Yeah. Every time they deploy the software to me to test, it's wrong, and I've got to go back and do it. And there's nothing I can do about it because I'm not a developer. Prison. Can't leave this box. I go right to the edge. I can look, but I can't cross it. Right? Flow not happening. Okay, when I say flow not happening, this is where you see kind of everything gets thrown up over the top to the next group, right? So everything's this black box that gets done, handed to the next group, right? And it gets caught in that chain for so long that it never actually makes it to market. And when stuff does not make it to market, you start to accumulate technical debt at a much quicker rate, right? So it would be like taking, I'm trying to think in like financial terms, right? This would be like a 0-interest credit card for 6 months, right? So we're able to go buy all this crap and not be paying any interest, not having anything, and then boom, we ship it 6 months later, and now a slew of blowback comes on us. You know, it balloons up to 25% interest rate, and we get that first payment. It's like, whoa, what happened here? Last month we were paying $25 a month on this credit card, and now it's like $390. I can't afford $390. Right? We do this when flow is not happening. When we're not getting it all the way out, we we start to accumulate. We do all these lies to ourselves. We do the zero interest problem, right? Where we're basically doing things that don't cost us anything now because nobody's actually using it. So I'm going to do this shortcut, and I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to worry about how I'm actually going to deploy this to somebody. I'm not going to worry about that because right now I don't have to pay that penalty. But now the minute I give it to that customer, I have to pay it now I have to pay it in spades because I'm not used to paying. Whereas if I would have given that chunk out much sooner, I would have had to pay the penalty, but it would have forced me to deal with it and fix it before I added more debt to that, right? So when we see poor flow happening, we start to see debt accumulate at a rate that we're not capable of paying back, which is why I heard probably at least 10 people say time was an issue, right? Because as that debt goes up, right? Think of it as, in financial terms, as being fully leveraged. At some point, the team becomes fully leveraged, that it takes everything in their might to just keep the technical debt from crushing them. But what do you think the product manager is going to say? Oh, that's okay, just don't worry about it. No new features, no new customer happy. No. They say, we want to buy more crap, we want more growth. And the team says, no, we're dying under the weight of the debt. At some point, you have to switch that culture to say, we want to be debt-free. We're not going to live as a slave to that debt anymore. We're going to do what it takes to clean the debt up, and we're going to make sure that it's clean going forward so that we can do the things we want to do. We can have the freedoms we want to have. We can release ourselves from the debt prison. Okay? Any questions or comments on kind of the state of affairs? You guys seeing this kind of stuff in your organization at all?
Yeah.
Elements of a culture of quality. So I want you to break up into groups. Remember, no more than 5 people per group. Nobody that you know in your group. And I want you to quickly brainstorm. I'll give you about 4 or 5 minutes. I want you to brainstorm what are some elements that would exist that would enable a culture of quality. What are some things out there? What would it look like if you had a culture that said we care about quality? What would some of those things